Hello everyone, this is Max, coming to you from the opposite side of the room, which is why things look slightly different today. It is June 24th here, which means we are very close to the end of the road. In 5 days, it will have been 11 months since I've arrived in Japan, and in a month and a half, presumably, I will be returning to the States. I don't have an official return time yet, but it will definitely be sometime between July 5th through August 5th through August 29th. I think 29th is the last day that I can possibly go home before I have to pay for my ticket home. So, month and a half, we'll call it. It's been a long time since I posted. I kept trying to make a video that was that felt heartfelt and also felt like I wasn't just sputtering nonsense. But nothing really came out sounding interesting or worth posting. So what I think I'll do is I'll go through a couple things I really like about Japan and a couple things I have reservations about. And then I will just show you some pictures of the last couple months. It's been a crazy time. Just to give you, I guess, I'll also tell you what I've done in that time period. So I guess the first thing that I have to talk about, the last video I believe was in April. Since then, Golden Week happened in the end of April to the beginning of May. And I took a tour pretty much of Japan where, the only map I have, unfortunately, is a tiny black and white map. It's not even worth it. So here's what we'll do. Imagine, let's say that, what's a good thing to utilize here? I can just use my hands. Imagine Japan looks like we have Hokkaido, a large northern island, Honshu, the even larger middle island, Kyushu, small southern island where I'm located, and Shikoku, which is I believe, even smaller middle southern island. And so the four big islands of Japan. I have yet to go to Shikoku. But for Golden Week, myself and three of my friends that I've met in Japan took a trip going along the coast of Kyushu all the way up along the western coast of Honshu to the very top, right before you'd have to take a ferry to get to Hokkaido, that big northern island. Our goal was to go all the way up to the top of Hokkaido and then just come right back down, doing a whole trip of the western coast of Japan, minus Shikoku, that one island. Unfortunately, we did not make it. We got all the way up to the top of Honshu, and then we're told that the ferries were completely booked, and there was no way we were getting to Hokkaido, and then back to the top, and then back in time to get another ferry back down to Honshu, that bigger island where Tokyo and Kyoto and Hiroshima are located. So, unfortunately, we had to stop at Aomori, which is at the top of Honshu, and then make our way back down. But in the process, we were able to see some very cool things. We were able to actually slow our trip down a little bit, so we didn't have to rush to the top and rush back down. So we got to explore Aomori, see some incredible giant lanterns from the Nabuta Festival. And we got to see Mount Fuji, which I've seen before, but I got to see some beautiful views. There's one time where we fell asleep in a large parking lot in the car because we were just searching for Fuji and we figured we'd find it the next day. And we woke up and it was right there in front of us. You know, it was just huge, and we just weren't able to see it the night before. And it was beautiful. We had this awesome view of it. Definitely will show you pictures of that. We went to Hiroshima for a little bit, and we popped into a place called Obama City, which is popular because of the name, really. And what else? We saw a bunch of cool things, really. It was a really fun trip. I've seen a lot of Japan at this point, whether it's just looking out the window and seeing some tiny town that's at the base of some enormous, beautiful mountain, or just seeing the countryside and seeing all the rice paddies and the farmers tending them. It's a very beautiful country, and it was an awesome experience. Probably would have liked to do it with a little more planning, so we could have gone and slept in real beds instead of having to sleep in the car as much as we did. But honestly, it was just one of those things that I'm glad in hindsight, that we just went for it, tried to do it, and we had a fun time. So really enjoyed that trip, and I'll definitely show you pictures of that. Otherwise, just went on a couple of cool hiking trips. I'll show you pictures of this awesome waterfall I hiked to. I can't remember the name of, but honestly, I've just been kind of trying to explore and live up my last few months before I have to return to the States and figure out next steps. So I am going to talk now just briefly about some pros I have with Japan and some cons I have with Japan. Just because I think that's a nice way to do what might be my penultimate video for this entire vlog that I did this year. So I think one thing that I really like about Japan is that everyone is typically very sweet. People will smile at you and they'll greet you. When you go into stores, they'll be extra nice to you. They'll put on falsetto voices to be nice to the customers. On the street, people will talk to you and try to help you, and even sometimes go out of their way to check things for you if they, just if you ask them questions or you try to make an effort. It seems like a very sweet country. To give an example, one time my bike tire broke and I brought it into the shop to have it repaired, and I expected just to leave it there overnight, have the repairman take care of it, and I just figure out going to school the next day on my own. But instead, what he said was, come back tomorrow at 12 and here, take this electric bike that you can use for the rest of today. And, this guy, he's met me one other time previously to buy a bike. But other than that, this is his second time meeting me. And he's decided that he's going to let me borrow this electric bike for the entirety of the day, just because he doesn't want me to be inconvenienced. There's no other reason. He just was like, a thank you for your business. Enjoy this electric bike, and come back tomorrow and your old bike will be fixed. And these electric bikes, they're worth maybe $150, $200, maybe more. This one was a little old, but it was a really nice gesture, and it's just something that I don't think I would ever see in America. Just something I was not accustomed to. I did not expect. And so little things like that, where you just get some genuine kindness from someone that you didn't expect, but in Japan it's just so casual, just like, yeah, of course I'll do that for you. That's no big deal. That's something that I really love about Japan. It's just something that I unfortunately just won't expect back in the States, and it's too bad. Another thing I love about Japan is that I'll just go ahead and say it. There's no tipping. They decide things in Kyushu are especially cheap, which is awesome. But on top of everything, I don't have to tip. But that is a double-edged sword, because sometimes people offer you exceptional service, like that gentleman, and when you go to tip them, they consider it rude. So you can't tip them. Now, that didn't happen. I didn't try to tip that gentleman because, that's just not something you do here. But when I first came here with my friends back in February 2018, we tried to tip a few times, and a lot of times people would run after us with the 500 yen that we had left and say, like, you forgot your 500 yen. And we'd say, no, it's okay, it's for you. And they would decline. They would say, no, please take it back. And we just wanted to show, it's something that's very common in America. And I think it's a nice gesture to people, just like, hey, you did a good job. Thank you so much. Here, have some extra money for your good service. What I think cheapens it in America is that a lot of people need it to survive for their waiting jobs and their food service jobs. And here they don't need it to survive. They're doing okay. They don't have to, they're rent is not through the roof. It's not astronomically high here in Kyushu. So it would just be an extra nice gesture to show that you appreciate them. But you don't have to do it here. So it's one of those things that's just like, oh, okay, another easy way to save money. I like how close everything is. I like that I could just travel. I got to the top, or rather we, meaning that group of 4 people I mentioned earlier, got to the top of Honshu in, I believe, 3 days. And we drove a lot. We drove through going all the way up. So it was like 3 days of mostly driving. But the country's small. So we were able to get all the way to the top very quickly and very easily. One bad part about that is that if you use the freeways and you have to get from island to island, at the very least, all the highways cost money. There's every one of them are toll roads, and you'll have to pay a lot of money to get from one place to the other. I believe to get to the top of Kyushu from where I am, ooh, there's a flag. From where I am is about, I think, 8,000 yen, maybe more like 7,000 yen, which is about $70 just from the bottom of Kyushu to the top of Kyushu, the southern island. So that's not great. That's something I don't like. But if you have the capacity to drive a lot, you can go from place to place and see incredible views and this beautiful shrines and temples all over the country whenever you want with ease, because it's all so close. It's a tiny country, and it's a beautiful one to explore. Things I don't like. Those are a couple off the top of my head. Things I don't like were there's a lot of plastic. Everything comes individually wrapped, which sucks. Like, imagine you get a bag of cookies, and then you open that bag, and then each one of those cookies is individually wrapped itself. I think the Japanese prefer that it comes as a gift, that you can just give a single cookie as a gift to somebody, so that person can accept it. But it's kind of it's just a lot of waste, obviously, and it's probably expensive. It probably adds up. It's expensive to do that. So I hope they figure out a way to get rid of that. Another issue I have with the country, when you go out, there's not a lot of how should I put this? Most of the places you go are very similar. They will offer you the same basic foods. In America, it's a melting pot, and we kind of take that for granted. You go out and you're like, what do you want tonight? You want Mexican, you want Italian, you want Japanese. You have so many options. But here, all the Japanese restaurants are very, very similar with slightly variations. You could go to an Italian restaurant, but I find the pizzas are all very similar at all these restaurants, like thin crust and just smaller and expensive, frankly. Just any specialty restaurants that I can see in Tokyo, they'll be expensive, and I guess there's a lot more variation there, but it's obviously much more limited, and it's much more expensive to get foreign food here, which is a bummer, because sometimes I want something other than ramen, sushi, yakiniku, which is like grilled meat. And I just want I want a little bit more variation in my food. I love food, and it's a bummer that sometimes I'm just like, oh man, I wish I could have something that's not Japanese. And it's like, well, that's too bad. Let's see. I really love a lot of things about this place. There's a lot more problems, like social issues, that are just like slightly like cringy and a little weird. And I'm happy to talk about those one-on-one more with people, but I just don't think that they're appropriate to put on the video. Or things that I just want to go into really that much right now. But if you're interested, feel free to talk to me about it, because I definitely have experienced a lot of other weird aspects of Japan that people wouldn't expect, I don't think. I've also experienced a lot of really cool things about Japan that people wouldn't expect. And if anyone has any interest in chatting with me about that, again, I am more than happy to talk. But with that all being said, again, I'm coming home very soon. Yeah, wow, it's super weird. So prepare yourself. I will be back, and hopefully I'll get a chance to see you and all the other people who I haven't seen for the last year. Yeah.
We're in the ice cave, and this is all ice. Oh boy, gonna have to get real low for this one. Oh, Jesus. Wow.
Good thing I'm not claustrophobic. Yeah.
Wow. This ice stays frozen year round, regardless of the temperature outside this cave. There's a sword. That's pretty neat.
Every time I see cave dwellers in movies, I'm like, oh,